You're scrolling through your phone, looking at all your contacts, and suddenly you realize something weird. There's nobody you actually want to call right now. No, you're mad at anyone. It's just because picking up that phone and having a conversation feels like it would take more energy than you have. And that's when the doubt creeps in. Maybe something's wrong with me? Here's what nobody tells you. Having fewer friends doesn't mean you're broken. It usually means you're wired differently. And today, I'm going to show you the 5 things empaths with few or no friends have in common. One of these will hit so close to home, you'll finally understand why you've been pulling away from people without even realizing it. Trait number 1. You don't filter interaction the same way. Okay, so imagine you're talking to a friend. They're telling you about their day at work. Most people hear the story, say something nice, and move on with their life. Their brain just takes the basic information and that's it. Your brain does something completely different. You're not just hearing their words. You're picking up on the tiny shift in their voice when they mention their boss. You notice they paused for half a second before saying they're fine. You can actually feel the stress coming off them even though they're smiling. And here's the thing. All of that information doesn't just disappear when you go home. It sits in your body. You carry it with you. This is why you get so tired after hanging out with people. You're not just tired from socializing. You're exhausted from processing everything you picked up from them. Their stress, their hidden worries, the things they didn't say out loud. Your brain is working overtime, and you didn't even know it. And small talk? That's even worse, because you're still absorbing all this emotional information. But the conversation is too shallow to do anything with it. So you're just collecting data with nowhere to put it. This is the first reason you have fewer friends. Your brain is doing 10 times more work than everyone else's during every single conversation. Trait number 2. You've learned that closeness becomes obligation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that friendships come with rules nobody actually says out loud? Like, you're supposed to text back within a couple hours. You're supposed to be available when they need you. You're supposed to show up and be fun even when you're exhausted. Nobody writes this down anywhere, but you feel it. And here's what happens. A friendship starts out great. You genuinely like this person, but then slowly, the expectations start piling up. They want more of your time, more of your energy, more of you being on, even when you're running on empty. At some point, you realize you're not connecting anymore. You're performing. You're managing their feelings. You're making sure you seem happy and present even when you're not. And that performance drains you. So you start to pull back, not because you're scared of getting close to people, because you've learned what happens when you ignore that drained feeling. The friendship stops feeling good and starts feeling like something you owe them. Most people can be friends with someone without thinking about it too much. You can't. Every friendship requires you to actively manage your energy. And when you're honest about how many of those you can actually handle, the number is pretty small. And here's trait number 3. Being around people doesn't guarantee being understood. Here's something you've probably experienced. You're in a room full of people. Everyone's talking and laughing, and you feel completely alone. Not because people are ignoring you, because nobody's actually seeing the real you. They're seeing the version of you that fits into the conversation. And that version feels like a costume you're wearing. This taught you something important. Just because people are around you doesn't mean you're connected to them. You can be surrounded by 50 people and still feel invisible. And once you figure that out, you can't pretend you didn't. So you stopped doing things just to be around people. Stopped saying yes to every invitation just so you don't look antisocial. Stopped keeping friendships going just because that's what you're supposed to do. What you're actually looking for is something rare. You want someone who gets what you mean the first time you say it. Someone who doesn't need you to explain yourself over and over. Someone you can be quiet with and it doesn't feel awkward. Those people are hard to find. So instead of filling your life with people who make you feel alone, you'd rather actually be alone. At least when you're by yourself, you're not pretending to be someone else. Now we are at trait number 4. You're not avoiding, you're being careful. When people see you avoiding social situations, they think you're afraid. They think you're anxious, or you need to get out of your comfort zone or work on yourself. But that's not what's happening. You're not avoiding things out of fear. You're making choices based on information. You already know what's going to happen if you go to that party. You know exactly which friend is going to need you to fix their bad mood. You know which group hangout is going to leave you tired for the next 2 days. You've done this before. You know what it costs. So when you say no, you're not being scared. You're being smart. You tried forcing yourself to go to everything before. You showed up. You smiled. You acted like you were having a good time. And when you got home, you didn't feel happy or connected. You felt empty, like you just wasted energy pretending to be someone you're not. The result is, you have fewer friends now. But the alternative was losing yourself in all the noise while everyone told you that's what friendship is supposed to look like. Moving on to trait number 5. Your worth isn't measured by how many people like you. Most people figure out who they are by looking at how many people like them, how many texts they get, how busy their social calendar is, how many people remember their birthday. You don't do that. You measure yourself by how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you feel more like yourself or less? And honestly, most interactions make you feel less like yourself. Not because people are mean, just because staying true to who you are while also being what someone else needs is really hard work. You're managing your energy, watching their mood, protecting your boundaries, reading the room, all at the same time. And after doing that enough times, you realize something. If you had a lot of friends, you'd have to stop listening to yourself. You'd have to ignore every signal your body is sending you about what feels right. So you made a different choice. You decided that feeling okay with yourself matters more than having a lot of people around. And that's why your circle is small. If you suddenly had 20 close friends tomorrow, something would have to change. Either you'd have to stop noticing all the things you notice, or you'd have to ignore what those things are telling you. And you already know what happens when you do that. You disappear. So having fewer friends isn't the problem. It's just what happens when you refuse to be someone you're not. The real question isn't why don't I have more friends? It's what would I have to give up about myself to get them? And when you answer that question honestly, you realize something. What everyone else calls loneliness is actually you protecting something valuable. Yourself. You're not broken. You just have requirements most people don't have to think about. And those requirements mean your circle stays small. But small doesn't mean empty. It means you're being honest about what you can actually handle. And that's not a weakness. That's you knowing yourself well enough to make choices that actually work for you. You want more interesting content on psychology and self-improvement? Be sure to check them out in the description box below. Also, consider subscribing to this channel so you can be the first to get notified whenever I drop a new video every time.